Blue Apron is the leading meal kit delivery service in the U.S., and while many know what they do, not many know about the types of meals you eat when you cook with Blue Apron. Now tell me how these sound. Chili butter steaks with lemon parmesan butter and potatoes. Vegetable lo mein with bok choy and carrots. Spicy shrimp bucatini with cabbage and toasted breadcrumbs. Roasted chicken and maple butter with sweet mashed potato and collard greens. Blue Apron delivers fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes right to your door. They can be cooked in under 45 minutes. The menu changes every week based on what's in season and is designed by Blue Apron's in-house culinary team. Blue Apron offers 12 new recipes each week. Customers can pick 2, 3, 4 recipes based on what best fits their schedules. And Blue Apron sends only non-GMO ingredients and meat without added hormones. Blue Apron is treating our listeners on the right time to their first 3 meals free. A $30 value when you first order if you visit blueapron.com/Bomani. So check out this week's new menu and get your $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Bomani. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. So yesterday I was out, it was about the 1 o'clock hour. I'm going somewhere to watch some football. And I got a text that was like, you see this thing about Jerry Richardson? And I'm like, nah, send me a link on Jerry Richardson. And I get the Sports Illustrated story about Jerry Richardson. And I'm like, whoa, like this broke right around kickoff? So imagine that, Jerry Richardson at the game in his suite, whatever it is. And Sports Illustrated has dropped a bombshell report on him that talks about, among other things, 4 former Panthers employees who got confidential settlements based on inappropriate things that had happened at the workplace. It talked about a racial slur that had been directed at one African-American scout from the Panthers. And then they talked about, what was it, Jeans Day on Friday, where everyone would wear jeans to the office, and Jerry Richardson would come and make comments to women based on the jeans that they had. Shannon, what was that? Was it Mr., right? Everybody calls him Mr.?
An organization refer to him as Mr. Yeah.
Not Mr. Richardson, to be clear, right? Just Mr. Like the color purple. Well, not exactly like the color purple, but like the color purple. They just call him Mr. Like it sounds like this wild, antiquated sort of workplace. Then there were more details, like the idea that they said allegedly Richardson would have an assistant like walk a woman to his suite, and then he would get there and say things to him like, you know, I would love to shave your legs. Like, you would love to shave their legs? Like that's what we're doing here, right? So all of this happens after the game. Jerry Richardson puts out a statement saying that he will in fact be selling the team, but the statement of course made no level of apology for any of the allegations that were there in the report. So if you were wondering when what's happening all over the rest of the world would get a little bit closer to sports, this is the moment where it has happened, right? Like it gets to an NFL team owner. I don't think there's anybody at this point who can be surprised to hear about any sector of life where this sort of thing comes to, because this thing comes to kind of just like attitudes men have toward women, and they're pretty pervasive everywhere. But now this has come to a place where, like on the airwaves here and stuff like that, we wind up talking about it. I want to know who got Jerry Richardson on the phone that afternoon and was like, hey, we got this statement right here about how you're going to sell this team. Because you have to say today that you are going to sell this team. And shortly after that, you are probably going to need to say that you are not going to be involved in the day-to-day for this. And here's the reason. The NFL is saying right now that they are going the Panthers had an internal investigation that was going on about Richardson. The NFL then took over that internal investigation as it has gone on. And I would imagine that the NFL would love nothing more than for Jerry Richardson to be long gone by the time the details of that investigation become clear. Or they would just like this to move fast enough that by the time they probably should have had an investigation, you might have forgot about it and moved on to something else, because at that moment, they don't have to reckon with it. And the reckoning part of it as it comes to the NFL and where this gets to be interesting is what you do here effectively becomes the template if you have to do something else with some other team. You see what I mean? So dealing with this and whatever comes down, you got to deal with it, but you've got to keep in mind that whatever happens somewhere else that comes up is going to wind up having to be dealt with also. Now, for the NFL, 32 owners, right? I am not in a position here to say anything about how the owners get down on this. The Richardson story winds up being kind of two-pronged. Because one thing I noticed, and Shannon, you tell me if you noticed this in the mentions, like on the Twitter mentions, because I noticed this. I had people who hit me up saying they wanted to talk about Jerry Richardson and the matters of gender involved. And then I had people hit me up and say they wanted to talk about Jerry Richardson as the racist owner. It was almost like a ink blot test, right? On what people focus on. Like, did you notice that split?
Absolutely. It seemed weird because it seemed like folks wanted to focus on one or the other.
Right. But see, for the NFL, now you got both. Right? So if you have someone who feels they have been treated improperly at the workplace on the basis of race, then this is going to become the template for how that gets dealt with. If you have these issues of sexual harassment, then this becomes the template of how to be dealt with. And who are the people who are going to ultimately be behind determining what the course of action is on this? The other owners. Now, to a degree, we are asking those other owners, at least some of them, one might presume, to pick their own switch. Right? Because whatever happens to the Panthers, if you are in a similar situation, then that's going to come down on you, wherever it is. You remember when, with Donald Sterling, when the NBA ran Donald Sterling out of there. And remember, they ran Donald Sterling out of there for something very, very particular, right? What those statements were that he got caught saying to the woman that then got broadcast. They didn't get him for like the overall culture. Keeping in mind, there have been allegations that Donald Sterling was bringing people to watch the dude shower. And all the things that Sterling had been alleged to have said at all these different points. They didn't get him for that. They got him for that one particular thing. And getting him for that one particular thing kind of made it easy for him to a degree because you couldn't go and look at every other team and see how they get down and then say, okay, this is what we're going to do. They were like, no, we're getting you for this one thing. If they're going to get the Panthers or Richardson, whoever it is, for the larger culture that's there, then all these teams understand that their cultures are open doors for the league if they want to give some level of punishment. So then if you are the owners, how do you decide what this punishment is? You're picking your own, like I say, they get to pick their own switch. How are they going to do it? But, is it Mark Cuban? You remember Mark Cuban did that interview where he was trying to explain that all of us have our impulses on race? Like he said, if I see a white dude with a face full of tattoos or a black kid with a hoodie, I'm going to be scared either way. And we need to understand and have a dialogue and a conversation or anything. That was one of those, because he was like, no, we shouldn't take Donald Sterling's team. Because he's like, hey, man, you never know when that mirror, at least it felt like, you never know when that's going to spin back around, and you never know when it's going to hit you. So what's the NFL going to do? In the end with this, what are they going to do? Not sure. I'd also like to point out something else that's very interesting. Shannon, did you notice this? It doesn't seem like anybody was able to get a microphone in Jerry Richardson's face or any other suit's face, so they had to come talk to the rank and file. Football players and the coach.
And I can imagine that's probably the last thing that Ron Rivera wanted to talk about.
Well, also think about it from this standpoint too, right? So, like, all companies have their public relations wings or whatever, right? And you send the publicists out to take the bullets for everybody. That's not what happens in sports. We send the players and we send the coaches out there to talk about these things. And what does that mean when we talk about the Carolina Panthers? That's right. We need to get an answer from Cam Newton. Now, I imagine that there had to be some public relations person with the Panthers whose job it was to try to get, like, Cam, like, what we're going to try to do. But also, Shannon, what do you do if you're the public relations person? Because as of right now, you still work for Jerry Richardson. Right?
At the same time, I'd imagine that you give Cam the heads up and try to keep it as vague as possible.
Yeah, but also keep in mind, this happened on game day. Right? So it's not like they had all night to send Cam home with some flashcards or something to think about this or whatever. No, they're catching him after the game wearing that ridiculous hat and those shades. Like, nobody told him, hey, Cam, we're going to have to talk about some serious stuff, man. You might want to take that Aladdin hat off there. Nope. He's up there with the Aladdin hat. Didn't he have some, like, funny-looking glasses, like could have been, like, from Tom Petty Into the Great Wide Open video? They had, like, a tint to him. But anyway, there's Cam. He was up there, and you could tell as he started talking, like, man, I hope I don't mess this up. Play the first one.
I heard about it, but I haven't, really dug into it. And I just recently, seen the internal investigation about all that. But, one thing about it, man, Mr. Richardson has been an unbelievable source in my life. I can't really speak on nobody else, but I have conversations because in my life, it's hard for me to kind of talk to certain people with them not being able to understand where I'm coming from. And I found a place of a refuge, with Mr. Richardson.
Shannon, I want to know what exactly it is that he and Jerry Richardson are like right here on, where the only person he feel like he could talk to about some of these things is Jerry Richardson.
Like, Mr. Richardson, you see that episode of Atlanta last night?
Right. Or when his kid just come in there and be like, you know what I love? A big sumptuous biscuit from Hardee's. Right? Like, I can't imagine the Cam's just up there like, what am I supposed to do right now? Right? Because I just got off work. Like, what am I supposed to say about Jerry Richardson right now? And hold on, he had more.
That's very serious. That's something extremely serious right now, especially when you see so many people getting picked out because of the things that they've done in the past. So, I don't take that lightly. I was just telling you my personal experiences with Mr. Richardson and how he has had such a father-like role to a lot of players in that locker room that's present and, past. So, for me, I hope things doesn't alter my thinking of Mr. Richardson, but for what I do know, man, he's given, me some things that, I just will forever be appreciative for him.
I'd have gone with no comment. Like, I feel like for all y'all, no comment is probably the play. Like, I do think people have to be fair and appreciate the degree of impossibility in the situation. Your boss just got hemmed up in, like, super duper scandal. What exactly are you supposed to say about that right now in front of all these people? Shannon, Thomas Davis was like, well, Mr. Richardson always been good to me. Well, damn, they just fired the general manager a little while ago because he wasn't being nice enough to you because Jerry Richardson did not like it. Like, yeah, that's probably what he's going to wind up saying. Meanwhile, Jerry Richardson is just like, man, let me just try to get out of here right fast before y'all stop and really stop and think about, you were at work asking women if you could shave their legs. And every other trick that was in the book. And now we'll see how this one plays. How about that? 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, there's a lot of speculation about who might be the next owner of the Panthers. I'll tell you what might be the worst idea I've ever heard on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Darren Gant of Pro Football Talk will join us next segment. Darren Gant of Pro Football Talk will join us at 4:30 Eastern with what he's got on the Jerry Richardson situation. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Yep. Stop Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Just one thing, by the way, to mention about Jerry Richardson. One thing that's kind of been lost in this, in the whole time that Richardson has owned this team, it's kind of a wonder that they let him buy the team in the first place. Or, like this, some things weren't dealt with sooner. Don't forget, Jerry Richardson was the CEO of the company that ran Denny's when Denny's caught their discrimination suit in the 1990s. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, but are familiar with the Jay-Z catalog, Never Eat at Denny's but Party at Little Penny's, that is what he was talking about in that one. It's to a degree a wonder that he got here. So at least on the basis of allegations of like workplace racism, there's not that much of a surprise there, given that the man had run a company that had already dealt with one of those. The stuff, though, as it related to dealing with women was staggering, though. It's just absolutely 100% staggering. And when this stuff comes up, I feel like a lot of men are just like, yo, I don't even know if I can say hello to a woman anymore. I would say, okay, well, maybe you don't know if you can say hello to a woman. That's fine. Maybe you're unaware of whether you can do that. But just in case you didn't know before, no, you cannot ask a woman if you can shave her legs. No, you're not allowed to ask women to show you their jeans so you can see how they fit at work and offer them foot massages and the likes. No, you can't do that. Just in case you were curious. I'm just trying to help. Did I do straight talk? Yes, cool. All right. Anyway, last night, because there was attention to be gotten, your man Diddy looked up and saw people talk about the Carolina Panthers are going to be for sale because Jerry Richardson is going to sell the Carolina Panthers. And, of course, that meant that Diddy said that he would think about buying the Carolina Panthers. And then that led to Diddy doing a video to express the fact that he would like to buy the Carolina Panthers. And it went like this.
Okay, y'all, this just in breaking news. The North Carolina Panthers.
Wait, press pause.
Okay?
Press
North
pause.
Carolina Panthers.
Did he say what I think he said?
Yes, the North Carolina Panthers, yes.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, y'all, this just in breaking news. The North Carolina Panthers, okay? North Carolina Panthers are up for sale. I believe it's time to turn the franchise over to new ownership. Well, I need to send a message out to everybody in the beautiful state of North Carolina. I will be the best NFL owner that you can imagine. I will immediately address the Colin Kaepernick situation and put him in the running for next year's starting quarterback. It's just competition, baby. It's just competition. But also, I will have the best halftime show, the best selection of music, and we will win.
Okay, so here's the thing about the best halftime show. Shannon, you want to guess who will be the performer at the halftime show? Because I got to guess.
I know exactly who's going to be, if Diddy's involved. The halftime performer is Diddy.
Yes, it is Diddy. Perhaps hologram Biggie, but definitely Diddy is going to be the halftime performer. I also feel like he does not realize that if you want to curry the favor of Carolina Panthers fans, saying we bring Colin Kaepernick in when you got Cam Newton isn't the way to do it. Not so much because they love Cam Newton so much, but if they don't like Cam Newton that much, what the hell you think they're going to have to say about Colin Kaepernick? Although I would love to see, Shannon, the post-game videos of those two walking out in their gear after the game, with Cam Newton out here dressed like Willy Wonka and Colin Kaepernick out here wearing his Eldridge Cleaver suit. With Colin trying to pass these books over to Cam, like, look, man, you need to read The Wretches of the Earth. All right, can you imagine the locker room split that would develop if you had Cam and Kaepernick in there at the same time? Can you imagine that?
You said it was just competition, baby. What does he think this is, the band?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, too. Like, you know, they actually have a thing. Like, and also, my first order of business is to bring Colin Kaepernick back. Diddy, this isn't how this works at all. The other part of it, though, Panthers would be signing the worst contracts ever. Like, what you mean I signed over all my publishing? I said, the Panthers would be the first team signing dudes to 360 deals. Right, all get jerked like it's a record industry dude. All of these cats will wind up getting jerked. The North Carolina Panthers. Is there anything more New York than having no concept of anything outside of New York in the way that he did, say, in the North Carolina Panthers? That's the most New York thing he possibly could have said. Because they are trying to figure out who it is that might buy this team. And an interesting question is going to be like what the valuation of the team is going to prove to be. Now, one point I want to make on Jerry Richardson, because I've heard people talk about this, and I think it's something to kind of consider. That I think when things like this happen, people want to see some measure of punishment. They want to see people suffer. Like, one thing about, I think, the social media and everything else is that it's kind of empowered people in such a way where they have at least the feeling that they have more control over the adjudication of these matters than they ever did before. So with somebody like Jerry Richardson, the same way it was with Donald Sterling, it's like, okay, now we got a chance to make this rich person pay. Except the problem is, in a circumstance like this, you can't really make the rich person pay, because the only way that you can make the rich person pay is to pay the rich person. So the idea that Jerry Richardson, who paid however many hundreds of millions of dollars for the team in the first place, might have to sell it for what Forbes valued the team at $2.3 billion, I believe it was. $2.3 billion. So they're like, oh, man, you're really punishing this old man by giving him $2.3 billion, except for the fact if he wanted that $2.3 billion, he'd have sold the team already. Right, like Jerry Richardson, Jonathan Jones of Sports Illustrated wrote a very good column about this, about the way that Jerry Richardson is so consumed with his own legacy. Like, that's the big thing to him, is his own legacy. This is a man that has two statues built of him while he's still alive, one in front of the stadium and one at Wofford College. He has his name all over the place. Like, he believes he is big into the weight of the Richardson name. He wants it to carry on for a very long time. And what is happening here is actually, for a guy like Jerry Richardson, maybe the worst thing that could happen. Because he really cares about what his legacy is in that way. Now, you could obviously make the easy argument that if he cared about his legacy, he wouldn't have done those things. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I'm saying that having the name sullied bothers him. He never thought that stuff was ever going to be the thing to do it. But the idea of taking his team away from him, like with Donald Sterling's thing was he never wanted to sell anything. So forcing him to sell something was as close to a punishment as you were going to get. But the bottom line is you ain't never going to really hurt rich people, right? Like that, like they got the whole game built up to even when they hurt, it don't hurt that bad. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, coming up next, how surprised were people inside the Panthers organization when the investigation was announced? We'll talk to Darren Gann of Pro Football Talk on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. He covers the NFL at ProFootballTalk.com, works out of Charlotte. His name is Darren Gann. Now, Darren, we just saw that Jerry Richardson has given up the day-to-day operations of the Carolina Panthers after the Sports Illustrated report this weekend about the workplace and the environment for the Panthers. Are you surprised that he's walked away so easily without a fight?
Makes you wonder what else is in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, like that was, because I think this is a part that you could clarify is how important being the owner of the Carolina Panthers is to him.
Oh, it's central to he cares very much about his legacy and his place in the world. This is a man, I can tell you about, I've sat in his house when he's taking calls. He enjoys the fact that powerful people call him Mister. He cares very deeply about how he's perceived, and running that team is central to what he's about and who he believes he is. And to give it up, I think it is. It's troubling, and it makes me wonder what else is to be uncovered. And, to be honest with you, I think the sexual harassment allegations are very serious. I don't mean to diminish that in any way, and that got everybody's attention because of #MeToo. The racial stuff, I think, is probably as big or bigger reason that he's stepping away as quickly as he is, because that's a problem that hurts him on a day-to-day basis running that team. Because if you believe what's in that report from Sports Illustrated, and I've been given no reason to suggest that you shouldn't believe it, then I think it's reasonable for Julius Peppers to walk up there and say, "You think that about me?" Or for Thomas Davis to say, "You think that about me?" And you can't own a football team if that's going around.
Well, how aware, I guess, or were you surprised as someone who'd been around the organization with these allegations?
I'm not going to tell you I saw it, but I tell you what I did see over the last, 20 years being around this market and being around that team. He's an 81-year-old white man from the South, and he says things and he believes things based on a certain context that you only get being a white man from the South of a certain generation. And I think, a lot of the stuff that he has said in the past, and a lot of people, things they've talked about him, are probably in his mind innocent, or at least not malicious, and he just doesn't, he can't understand how it sounds to people who grew up in a different context, who grew up in a different time, or grew up in a different place, because, it's just a very old South way of thinking he has and has always had.
All right, talking to Darren Gann of ProFootballTalk.com here on The Right Time. So with Jerry Richardson out of the way, what do you think happens next?
They'll sell it. They'll find a billionaire who wants to buy the place and keep it in Charlotte, because Charlotte's a fairly groovy place to be. It ain't Miami, it ain't L.A., but it's certainly comfortable, and there's a lot of money here, and there's a lot of young money moving to town. So I think a lot of people locally are panicky about the possibility that it might move, especially after seeing an NBA team leave town before. But I just think if you look at the economics of the market, that's probably an unfounded concern. Just look at what happened in Buffalo. The last team to sell was the Bills. They were lined up around the corner to pay $1.4 billion for a team in Western New York with one of the worst stadiums in the NFL. So what's this place worth? I would think it's pretty valuable.
Well, also, I would imagine that, Jerry had L.A. as the card to play for the longest and used that to get stadium upgrades and perks from the city.
Right.
L.A.'s not out there anymore as the threat.
Right, and there really isn't. What is the threat? San Diego, they don't have a stadium. That's why the Chargers aren't there. St. Louis, nobody's moving to St. Louis. No Fortune 500 companies are leaving Charlotte to move to St. Louis. That's an economic reality. So I don't know, I don't know what the market would be, what the alternative would be. I really don't. I guess, if the NFL needs its next stalking horse for these negotiations, East Bay, California would be the one. From a market standpoint, not having a team in San Francisco/Oakland, which I don't think you count Santa Clara as that market anymore. I mean, it's close and they carry the same name, but it's a different locality. That would be the one, but I don't think anybody's in any hurry to put another franchise in California at the moment.
All right, talking to Darren Ganner, Pro Football Talk here on The Right Time. Now, also, this is interesting that as Jerry Richardson loses day-to-day control of his team, Jerry Richardson's famous favorite player, Thomas Davis, got a 2-game suspension for that hit on Devontae Adams. What do you think about that?
Recidivism. I mean, Thomas got knocked $48K for helmet to helmet earlier this year, and the next one, I mean, it's a classic example of examples being made. Juju was going to get hit after that Steelers-Bengals game the other week. I mean, you just knew coming out of that game the next guy was going to get run up the flagpole, and after that, because it was such an egregious, I mean, I don't think it was malicious. I've known Thomas as long as he's been playing in the NFL. He didn't win that Walter Payton Man of the Year award for no reason. He's a good man, but that was a dirty play. I mean, it was helmet to helmet. It was blatant. The guy didn't see it coming. It's like the rest of them. It was 2 games. I'm sure when Derek Brooks and James Thrash hear the appeal, it'll get reduced down to 1, and he'll be back out there on New Year's Eve against the Falcons.
Now, I just mentioned, Thomas Davis and his relationship with Jerry Richardson, but for other players on the team up until this point, what would you say was their perception of Jerry Richardson?
Different among different people, and I think that was one of the more frustrating things for me about yesterday's scene post-game is that Ron Rivera and all the players kept talking about all the nice things Jerry Richardson did for them. Well, yeah, because you're athletes and you're coaches and you can do something for him. It's all the other people in the building who can't do anything for him that I think that's the measure of your character. I mean, I'm one of those people, I judge you based on how you treat the elderly and waitresses and dogs and people who can't do anything for you. And all these players lining up to tell stories about how Jerry Richardson was so nice to them. Well, yeah. I mean, you're the one he would. And it's just, it's going to be frustrating to me at a certain level if they go on this kick and, get on the roll and want to win a Super Bowl from Mr. Richardson. Because frankly, based on the way he's behaved or is accused of behaving, he doesn't deserve that right now.
Well, how nervous also is the NFL about what they might find?
Oh, gotta be. I mean, do you remember the lawsuit against Jerry Jones that was filed in 2014 and eventually dismissed with all kinds of rude, nasty, ugly allegations and pictures to go with it? When's the last time we heard about that? I mean, the case was dismissed, but if that thing drops today with those pictures, do you know what the reaction would be? I know from talking to people around the league, Bo, that there were a lot of people relieved when this landed in Charlotte because it just means it didn't wash up on their shore first.
All right, that is Derek Gann. Check him out, cover the NFL for ProFootballTalk.com. Thanks so much, sir. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. You have a good one. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll compare rates for you so you get the best deal, even if it's not with us, saving you time and money. Now, that's Progressive. Call or click today.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Darren Gant of Pro Football Talk for joining us last segment. Ryan Clark of ESPN will join us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. The Right Time is brought to you by Upside.com, giving all business travelers the gift of a better business travel experience this holiday season. Upside.com. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. All right, so people whom I trusted on various levels. I know my man Steve White was out ahead on this. Aaron Schatz had also been trying to warn us of the same thing, which was Blake Bortles isn't that bad. Okay, I'm going to take it a half step further. Recently, Blake Bortles has been good. Shan, don't tell nobody I said that, okay?
Are we rolling on that, Nuno? We rolling on that sound? Okay, cool.
That reminds me one time when I was in college, one of them LL Cool J albums that come out, and my homeboy came in, he stopped, he looked around, he looked out the door to make sure nobody was here, and he's like, the LL Cool J got some songs on it, man, that's kind of jamming. Right? Like I feel like that's like where we are right now when you talk about Blake Bortles. Wow, got to make sure not to say Blaine Gabbert. Right? It's very easy to mess around and get those two mixed up, but horribly unfair to at least one of them to do that. Listen to this, man. The Jaguars won 45-7 yesterday. Blake Bortles has had 3 straight games with multiple touchdowns and no interceptions. And I used to have Blake Bortles in fantasy. I had him that year. He threw for 30-something touchdowns, but he threw for like a bazillion interceptions also. Apparently, he has kind of calmed that down just a bit. That being said, Jadeveon Clowney, not so excited about the prospect of losing to the Jaguars 45-7.
They beat us on both sides of the ball. Ain't no defense. They beat us. Physically beat us.
Are they that much better than you guys?
Do you think that? I don't.
No, I don't actually.
I don't either.
So that's why we're trying to figure out.
They got us today. They was that much better than us today.
Bill and TJ both said it was embarrassing. Is that a word you would use?
Oh, yeah. Straight. For real, it's embarrassing. None of them want to get beat by no. I don't even know what the score was. I know it's crazy, but none of them want to get beat like that. It's embarrassing to the whole organization, everybody on the team.
Dog, he sees. Do you think that? That was my favorite thing. Are they that much better than y'all? Do you think that? Oh, sorry there, big fella. I'm just trying to do my job, man. Like, Shannon, that felt like that's the question where everything turns, right? Do you think that? I
mean, of course not. No, Mr. Clowney, sir. No.
Yeah, no. Clowney also said to Blake Bortles is trash. No, we're still not at that point yet where people can give Blake Bortles credit for the fact that maybe he's not that bad. Like, he's physically talented. There's no question about like his physical talents and what he provides in that way. That's been there from the very beginning. He's just been playing poorly. Now, it is also worth noting that TJ Yates was starting for the other team, so maybe that had a little bit of something to do with this. But we've talked about this with Jacksonville. Jacksonville is good enough in enough ways that they don't need Blake Bortles to be great. They just need Blake Bortles not to be bad. And at the very least right now, he's not bad. Who wants any parts of that defense if their quarterback play at the very least is not bad? Like, you think the Patriots want that? They bring that pass defense up there. Do you think the Patriots wants that? Like, I've seen a lot of people have made the argument that the Chiefs are probably still the team that is best equipped to beat the Patriots. Are they really better equipped to beat the Patriots than the Jacksonville Jaguars are? All they need Blake Bortles to do is hold it together just a little bit. So I would imagine that if I was in the Jacksonville facility, we would be playing a very difficult game, which is how do we make sure that Blake Bortles is confident without gassing his head up? Because you mess around and gas his head up, then he starts doing things he's not qualified to do, and the next thing you know, we got a problem. Right? Like, that's the very, 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 very difficult balance. They're basically trying to do the equivalent of him with, I ain't saying that you not like, I think you good looking, but you ain't like, foreign. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't just be out here thinking you can wear anything and then it'll be cool. No, like, that's what they're effectively trying to do, right? Try to get his head into the place they need it to be to stop his head from going to a place that you might find to be a little harder to work with.
So you mean to tell me they're telling Blake Bortles that he has a nice personality?
No, because he can see through that. You can see through that. Like, I don't know how they're balancing it, but how do you give him a level of confidence without doing what you believe to be gassing his head up? Because once you start gassing his head up, I feel like he could very quickly turn into Rex Grossman. And that's not what you want, because Rex Grossman had his head gassed up. You ever see that interview Rex Grossman did a little while ago where he was talking about, how he'd always been encouraged to let it rip, like every coach he had always encouraged him to take chances and everything like that. And imagine, he'd probably still be in the NFL right now if people hadn't been out here gassing him up. That's what they got to figure out with Blake Bortles. How do we not gas him up? And I feel like the man for that job is Leonard Fournette. I feel like all Leonard Fournette got to tell him is, sit there, bro. I'm just going to tell you right now, you good, but you as good as I make you. Don't make me worse. Did he say that the other day? It's basically like, yeah, Blake, he finally got a running game. This is a Leonard Fournette. Was it last week? Yeah, last week.
What can you say, by the way, about the way Blake Bortles played in this game? He seems to be stepping up in a really big time.
Like I told y'all, man, Blake's coming around, man. To me, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks. Last year, it didn't have a running game, and now we have a running game, and I think he's showing his true colors. Now we have a running game. I am the running game. Now we have a running game. By the way, I feel like we need to send a shout out to Doug Marrone, right? You remember Doug Marrone used to be the coach of the Buffalo Bills. And then Doug Marrone, after the team got sold, jumped on a loophole in his contract that said that he could get all his money if he walked away when the ownership changed. And so he did that. And we're like, oh, that's silly. Ha, ha, ha. Nobody's going to pay you to be a head coach. And he didn't get a head coaching job. But what did he do? Last year,
or the year before last, he slid in there with the Jaguars as the offensive line coach and got himself an assistant head coach and slot on that, right? Here's the thing about being an offensive line coach and an offensive line coach specifically who has head coaching experience. If they fire the head coach, you're the guy that they're going to slide in there at the interim because you leave the play callers to have their duties and everything else. Gus Bradley got fired in the middle of last year. Guess who slid in there? Doug Marrone got the interim job. Now Doug Marrone's the head coach, and they got all that talent, and they halfway figured out this quarterback thing. You got to respect that, right?
Doug Marrone slid into the Jaguars DMs.
Yes, he did. He did it perfectly. He did it perfectly. He got in there and was like, this is the place that will make me most likely. In fact, he might have been there behind the scenes. Like, I think this team just needs a breath of fresh air right now. No. Don't wait. We need to make a change right now. And if you want to make a change, I do, in fact, have head coaching experience. So he got his bread. Now he got himself back. Now he's about to be in the playoffs. He, by the way, has an over 500 record as a coach. Bet you didn't know that. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, we will talk about the issue that has had football fans outraged. The catch rule. ESPN Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Blue Apron is the leading meal kit delivery service in the U.S., and while many know what they do, not many know about the types of meals you eat when you cook with Blue Apron. Now tell me how these sound. Chili butter steaks with lemon parmesan butter and potatoes. Vegetable lo mein with bok choy and carrots. Spicy shrimp bucatini with cabbage and toasted breadcrumbs. Roasted chicken and maple butter with sweet mashed potato and collard greens. Blue Apron delivers fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes right to your door. They can be cooked in under 45 minutes. The menu changes every week based on what's in season and is designed by Blue Apron's in-house culinary team. Blue Apron offers 12 new recipes each week. Customers can pick 2, 3, 4 recipes based on what best fits their schedules. And Blue Apron sends only non-GMO ingredients and meat without added hormones. Blue Apron is treating our listeners on The Right Time to their first 3 meals free. A $30 value when you first order if you visit blueapron.com/Bomani. So check out this week's new menu and get your $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Bomani. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed that is at Bomani_Jones. And apparently there was an outrageous situation that we had in the NFL this week, the sort of thing that happened that was so shocking and so stunning that even though you have heard a story like this one, it still managed to take people aback. That even though they have been in this situation before, that by now you should not be surprised maybe to hear these sorts of things. Football fans are still horrified to find out the truth and that things are still the way they were. And when I say that, I am obviously talking about what happened in Pittsburgh. Now, in Pittsburgh, we had a situation where the Steelers had thought they had caught a game-winning touchdown or a go-ahead touchdown. Roethlisberger threw the ball to Jesse James. Jesse James seemed to have caught the ball, then tried to stretch out, and then he wound up going to the ground, and he broke the plane with the ball in his hand, but he went to the ground, and when he went to the ground, the ball wobbled. When he hit the ground, it went to instant replay, and I watched that whole thing play out as it did, but I watched it with a very interesting perspective, which is I watched that all happen with somebody who had Pittsburgh plus 2.5. Now, it was a 3-point game at that moment, and he had Pittsburgh plus 2.5. And on top of that, if I'm not mistaken, the score at that moment was 27-24 and the over-under was set at 53. So I imagine some of you were also in this position, but the ball goes over the goal line. I watched my man go through the ecstasy that comes from gambling on these sorts of things. And then I watched him get on the phone with somebody and they were talking about how that was, it was a touchdown and everything else. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's not a catch. It's not a catch. And, of course, now he's mad at me because he feel like I'm out here messing with his money. I'm giving him the pessimism that he don't want right then because he just experienced that euphoric release. I've seen this guy score a touchdown pass. I'm like, it's not a catch. Ball wobble when he hit the ground. It's not a catch. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, they on the television. They say they can't figure out why it is that they're doing all this, looking at it, why it's taking so long. And I'm like, it's because the ball hit the ground. It's not a catch. And then the man got on the microphone and he said that the catch did not survive the ground. And once he said that the catch did not survive the ground, that the ball then had to go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then the Steelers got the ball back, and then they try to take it down the field or whatever it is. And Roethlisberger had one of them situations where the dude didn't get out of bounds. They needed to get up and call the play fast, but the problem was it was third down. And so there was really no point in spiking it, because if you spiked it, you basically needed to call the field goal kicker out there. Wasn't the way that you want to play it. So then Roethlisberger tried to do that thing where you fake the spike. Now it gets to be funny because I'm sitting there with my man who, again, has money on this game, and he's like, okay, they're going to go up here and spike it. And I looked at how they set up on the line. I'm like, he's not going to spike it. He's going to run a play. Just you watch. He's going to run a play. Ben Roethlisberger think he's fooling somebody, but he's not fooling me. He's going to run a play. The next thing you know, ball snap. They run a play. Ben Roethlisberger's like, okay, so only one dude is running this pattern, and he's surrounded by three people. YOLO! And then he threw the ball in there, and then the ball wound up being intercepted, and then the game was there. Like, that was it. It was done. It was a wrap. Whoo! Shannon, that was a lot. Like, I feel like I just ran through that whole sequence right there with not taking any stop, and now I'm tired. I wasn't even the one that was betting on the game. I wasn't there.
So now I can imagine how much angst there was for the one person who did have, Pittsburgh in the 2.5, right?
Yes. Well, here's what confuses me, though, because, of course, everybody's mad on this whole we don't know what a catch is thing. And I understand it to a degree, but, I go back and look at the Calvin Johnson play. I understand why they say that's not a catch. What they're saying is if you go to the ground and you can't get up with the ball, then you have not demonstrated control. Now, where the difference in the rule comes in is that if you handed the ball to somebody, if it was a running back and they just simply crossed the plane, you would have said that they established control already and then it was there. But the dude isn't a running back. It's a guy who caught the ball. And I personally did not think that he had established control in a way that I could be sure he had it until he got up with the ball. I don't think that the rule is nearly as ridiculous as other people make it. I think my man Matt Zemek makes this point on Twitter where he's like, part of why we have this difficulty with this rule is what the NFL doesn't want is a lot of plays where guys theoretically have control and then they get hit and then the fumble is forced and then you have a lot of change of possessions. That's a big part of what it is that they don't want. But I thought it was obvious and immediate what it was that they were looking up, and I saw that ball wobble on the ground and I could not figure out why it was taking them so long to understand what the replay was, and maybe I was the one person in America who was neither shocked nor outraged by the fact that it got overturned. And I'm not even a Patriots fan. Anyway, here is Mike Tomlin talking about the play being overturned.
I don't have HD and all of that stuff, so it's really irrelevant how I feel about it, to be honest with you. It's not going to change the outcome of the game. I'm not going to cry over spilt milk and all of that crap and talk about replay. I ain't doing it.
They was about to get that win, Shannon. They have such a hard time against the Patriots. Did you see that stat where Tom Brady, before this game, hadn't thrown an interception against the Steelers since 2005?
I thought this was the one. You remember Tomlin last week, all excited about playing the Patriots, got the Patriots in the kitchen with the Patriots. This was it. This was the game to turn everything around.
And I thought that they pretty thoroughly outplayed them for most of the game. What did happen, though, the Patriots went to the cheat code, right? And so there's all kinds of cheat codes that come, but if we stay on this in the context of football, I don't know if you remember playing Tecmo Super Bowl, but if you played Tecmo Super Bowl, all the plays would be the same and everything else, but as you got farther into the playoffs, man, things just got a whole lot harder. People played a whole lot better on defense. And so what I would wind up running as the cheat code was that one play, and I'm going to describe it because a whole lot of y'all already know that play. It would be two backs, two receivers. The receiver on the top of the screen would go up. It was like a skinny post. The tight end would run a crossing route. The receiver at the bottom would take it toward the inside and then run. He's supposed to throw the ball over to his back shoulder, and the running backs would flare out from the backfield. And you just hope you have a mobile quarterback. You either throw it or you run and you try to go. And you just run that play all the way down the field, because after that, none of your other plays are actually going to work. I felt like that's what the Patriots were doing, and it was basically the Bel Air offense, and they were just passing the ball to Gronk. This is the thing that we can make happen. We're going to pass the ball to Gronk. And they just went down to, the Steelers decided they were going to man up on Gronk, even though there's not a single human being in the city of Pittsburgh who can check him. But they made that call. That's what they were going to do. And that is your reminder that, Gronk is that singular. To me, of all the players in the NBA, in the NFL rather, There's no player that is more obviously the greatest of all time at his position than Rob Gronkowski. Like, if you think that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time at quarterback, that's fine. I think there's a lot more room for argument about who's number 2 over there than whoever the hell is number 2 after Gronk. They made one of those. That's it. And that's what got him to win. But let's get back here for a second to Ben Roethlisberger and that play where he threw that interception, right? Because my thing was this. If you mad at the referees about that overturned call, okay, that's fine. But the referees got a story that you could believe in when they came and explained how it is that they did what they did. What the hell was Roethlisberger out here doing? Here's what he had to say about that interception.
To be real clear on that, is that Randy or Todd in your ear saying go for it instead of clock it?
Yes.
Which one?
Todd. Now, once again, that's coming from the head guy. Someone's telling them, but they, maybe they wanted a field goal. Maybe they wanted to tie it. I don't know, and so maybe that's on me. Maybe I should have just clocked it, whatever it is. I don't know. So we're not going to look back and second guess anything or anybody. We lost the game, and I threw a pick in the end zone at the end of the game to lose it.
Shannon, did he just say he wasn't going to second guess anybody after he second guessed people?
After he started naming names, then he says he's not going to second guess anybody. That
like, not only did he name names, he said Todd, and then he says, and that came from the head man. Like, he wanted to make sure that everybody understood I had a different idea. My idea was not the same as their idea. But none of that required you to throw the pick. None of that requires you to see that guy who was covered that you had no chance of completing the pass to. None of it required you to do that. And then for the Steelers, like, I'm trying to think, they were about to come out of there with a victory. Instead, not only did they come out of there with a crushing defeat, but they also came out of there without Antonio Brown, who has a calf injury, and I guess will be back for the postseason. Yeesh, that's got to stink. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys still calling in with your stories about why you quit playing football. Let's talk to Steve in Atlanta. Steve, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo, what's going on?
What's going on, man?
Hey, so I played high school ball in California. I was an all-district second team guy. I wasn't the best guy on the field, but I wasn't the worst guy on the field. So I chose to go to the military instead of going to college. I did special forces in the military. I got out. Got that vocational rehabilitation money from the military, decided, you know what, I think I'm going to play college ball. I got out of the military in the great state of Virginia and decided that I wanted to go into engineering, so I figured, what's the best engineering school in Virginia but Virginia Tech? Fortunately, I was going there during the same time that a certain member of a certain secondary out in Seattle was going there. And I was on the scout team as a fullback, went out, caught a pass in the flat, and got hit so hard that the rest of the story is coming to you from secondhand information because I don't remember any of it. I am told that I walked to the defensive huddle, put my hands on my knees, and said, that MFer can hit. And at that time, I was directed back to the offensive huddle. And the only other thing that I got to say is, if you could put a piece of paper between the ball and the pole, then obviously they didn't get that first down. The Cowboys robbed the Raiders again. And with that, I'll take it off the air.
Well, Steve, I appreciate the call. There it is. If you ever imagine what it felt like to get hit by Cam Chancellor, ask Steve, and Steve will tell you what other people told you about it.
Cam was out there hitting fullbacks?
Fullbacks. Was he an undersized fullback? Because that's the thing. And I think I'm about to be on the scout team as the undersized fullback. You got me. Hell no. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, I have a criticism of the use of the index card for the first down, but it might not be what you think. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Ryan Clark of ESPN will join us next segment. Ryan Clark will join us at 5:30 Eastern. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. We're here talking about the Steelers and what happened at the end of the game. Let's talk to Gene in Pennsylvania. Gene, thanks for calling The Right Time.
How are you? Why is it every time I call you, I'm talking about the Steelers and the Patriots?
Hey, man, I guess that's your thing. That's your bag.
Yeah, well, Well, yeah, I'm a Steeler fan. Last night I was an irrational Steeler fan. Tonight I'm a rational Steeler fan. So really, the Steelers lost their composure. I mean, okay, they take away the touchdown. They got 28 seconds, right? You take the ball, you down it, you kick the field goal, you go into overtime, and you try to win in overtime. That's the bottom line. It was just a bad series of two bad plays. One bad play, the interception, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Gene, I'll say this, man, and I appreciate the call. I would have gone for the win, too. Like, I don't blame them for taking a chance to try to win that game. You go ahead and win it. You just think your quarterback knows better than to throw the ball into, like, quintuple coverage. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. DJ Mike Hitman, what's going on?
Hey, Bo. Now, how a man gonna run a football team when he can't even get his name pronounced right? I thought it was Love, not P. Diddy. The man can't run no football team. North Carolina? Come on, Bo. It's the Carolina Panthers, P. Diddy. The man don't know football. He can't run no team. I can imagine he called a cowboy cowgirl.
I thought you'd like P. Diddy as an owner, Mike.
Oh, I don't like no P. Diddy. I never did like P. Diddy. I don't like his harat. I don't like nothing he runs. And I don't like his music. And the man's a bad dresser. Do y'all never follow this man? The man can't dress. Somebody else dress him.
You don't think he can dress, Mike?
And another thing. No, he can't support. He got an eye going to the right, one going to the left. The man ain't dressed because he got a coordinator. He don't even match. The man, he want to be like a crayon box, but he ain't the crayon box. He's a Fruit Loop. You know what Fruit Loops is? You buy them cereal, all types of colors, and they don't even go together. That tastes good with milk.
Oh, that's what you mean.
That's what he is.
Gotcha.
That's what I mean. Hey, Bo, listen to this. Cowboys still in it. Oh, Time is in it. The Boston Celtics still in it. What a year. It's 2018 going to look so good. And one more thing, Bo. Shannon's going to still go over there and say, because Boston's going to beat them Cleveland down. Like your T-shirt say, Bo, beat them down. Have a good one, Bo. Hey, Bo, one more thing. Merry Christmas to you and Shannon and a Happy New Year. And remember, when you think of New Year, think of me, because all the fireworks going to be popping. Have a good one, Bo.
All right, Mike. 888-729-3776. I should have waited to hear from Mike about that index card. Y'all see that where it came down to the first down and it was so close that to try to figure out whether or not it was a first down, the referee broke out an index card to see if there was any space between the nose of the football and the chain. Now, Shannon, did the man ever stand the chain up all the way, straight up?
Because initially the chain was leaning, so they did stand it up, and it was still very close.
Yeah, and so he stood it up, and then I was confused because I thought that there was room for the card between the football and the chain. But apparently there was not. That when he put the card down, it hit the football, and therefore he decided that it was, in fact, a first down. And I have to give credit to the referee. I thought that was really, really smart. Right? Like if you cannot eyeball the distance, then you need something very thin to help you determine whether or not it was a first down. I thought that was a dope way to go about doing it. Jack Del Rio, on the other hand, did not.
I don't want to get fined. Okay? I'm not happy with the way things were done on a lot of different situations throughout the night. They did the best they could. I had a different viewpoint. I saw error. It was pretty obvious. Never seen error like that and it somehow turn into a first down. Error between the ball and the stick, okay, goes the other way. Period.
So, Shannon, did the card touch the football or not? Because I thought I saw error too. Do we have an answer?
I thought he was short personally until they whipped out the index card.
But I have to say, I don't know why people are down on the index card. If there's a reason to be down on the index card, it's not the reason y'all are down on the index card. The reason to be down on the index card is not the ingenuity that the referee demonstrated. After all, we do measure this with a damn chain. The ingenuity came from just thinking about sliding in there. That was cool. But you don't fold the index card if you do that. You put the index card down straight, therefore making that plane as thin as possible, therefore giving you the best answer as to whether or not it was a first down or not. And, Shannon, who folds over an index card? I thought the whole point of having an index card is that you could just use the card as it was.
I have so many questions. Why did he have the index card in the first place? For situations like this? Because you never know when you need an index card to determine whether or not it's a first down?
How much you would have bet the index card say on it? We are now beginning overtime. Here are the rules for overtime. Oh, it's 10 minutes now? Oh, damn. Okay. Well, there we go. Like, there it was. Raiders fans all salty about the index card. Everybody. So here's the ref. The ref said the ball was touching the pole. I put the card in there, and as soon as it touched, it was nothing more than a reaffirmation. The decision was made based on my visual from the top, looking down, and the ball touching the front of the pole. Also, Shannon, he was very excited about making that call. You see the look on his face when he was getting ready to say it was a first down? Does he hate the Raiders? Because he was just like, watch this. Watch this. That man dimple started showing it everything. He's like, watch this. Watch this. You see this? First down. And then it went from there. And by the way, Cowboys still in it.
They get Ezekiel Elliott back now. They play against Seattle next week, so that's going to be a big game. And they get Ezekiel back, so it should be interesting.
Shannon might go be calling you on your actual phone to talk about that. He going to be sending me stuff to send you if the Cowboys make the playoffs. Yo, Shannon's ready to go to break. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, well, that's Ryan Clark, what he thought about Ben Roethlisberger on that interception play on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Book your next business trip at Upside.com and you'll get two of the best gifts anyone will give you this holiday season. A free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones so you can have some peace and quiet on your business trip and the gift of a better business travel experience. All that plus Upside is great prices for flights, hotel, and rental cars. Now, to get your free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones, use my code BOMANI when you book your first business trip at Upside.com. That's code BOMANI at Upside.com to claim my free gift to you. Bose SoundLink wireless headphones. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Headphones available while supplies last. Must be first Upside purchase. $600 minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Just like our next guest, I sat in front of him at a meeting last week. Super Bowl champion Ryan Clark. Ryan, what was going on with the Steelers at the end of that game, man?
They got to find some way to play defense. I think I like what they tried to do. They went man-to-man press coverage, which is what you had to do against Tom Brady, disrupt him, get pressure with 4. But there at the end of the game, you see that he's targeting Rob Gronkowski every chance he gets. He feels like he's the one guy that can win against man-to-man. I like for them to do something different to take Tom Brady off of his first initial read, which was Rob Gronkowski. And then you go to the fake spike and the slant. I like going for it there, and especially after you feel like you've already won the game with the Jesse James touchdown that was overturned. And so I like going for it there, giving your team an opportunity to win the game. But once he gets through that first window and you can't fit the ball in on the slant, I think it would be better to throw it away, give yourself a field goal, and now you get a chance in overtime to at least compete to try to win the game.
Yeah, well, what did you think about him after the game making it clear to everyone that he wanted to spike it?
He's a bit of an oversharer. He kind of, passed the buck a little bit. I think in a situation like that, you just like to go with, you know what, that's the play we called. I was trying to win the game. And so be it. But, that's part of kind of who Ben is. He's a guy who's told us about injuries when that's something you say you really don't want to do. He's a guy who's very open and actually answers the questions with what he feels is the correct answer. And so you're going to have some of those situations that kind of make you shake your head, and that is one of them for sure.
We're talking to Ryan Clark of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, were the Steelers in a position where they could have run an actual play rather than just the fake spike?
I'm not sure they could have gotten one called. Obviously, with the fake spike, everybody lined up. You can see Ben kind of giving Eli Rogers some type of signal. I'm not sure in that situation, unless you know what play you want from that position, or you call 2 plays before the last, I guess, repeat the next one. There were other things you could do, but actually get a new play call, get a play call that everybody understands and knows would have probably been a little bit harder, and you'd have been scared that you take too much time doing that and don't get a 4th down if you don't convert.
Now, I try not to get too caught up in like the narrative stuff about, momentum and the likes and everything else. But how important would it have been for the Steelers just to get a win over the Patriots? Because I can't remember the last time it happened.
It would have been huge. It would have been huge, just psychologically, especially with this group of men, with the team that they have. There's been so many defeats at the hand of Bill Belichick and at the hand of Tom Brady that to actually get a win without your best player, without a guy who had an opportunity to be the MVP of the league in Antonio Brown, would have been huge psychologically. But also when you look at where the playoffs would have to go through, which would have been Heinz Field, or at least put the Steelers in the lead for it to be Heinz Field, it would have been the biggest win of the season if you can count a regular season win that important.
We're talking to Ryan Clark of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, how much will it hurt them in these next 2 weeks? Like, is winning without Antonio Brown something they can do?
I mean, you got to look at who they're playing, right? I mean, you get those Browns, you get those Texans. Those are two teams who are very beatable. And listen, here's why, and I said it during the season when Martavis Bryant was asking to be traded. I said, you do not trade him. I said, I don't care if you got to sit him the rest of the year. You never know what can happen. You never know what you need. This dude is a physical stud, and now you need him. You see him last night making big catches on the fade route against the Patriots. You see him make a huge one-handed grab in the end zone. And so you see the talent. You see the things he can do. You add Juju Smith-Schuster to that. You have Le'Veon Bell. So you have a team that can go out and really compete not only against these two teams that they play, but compete against playoff team offensively with the firepower that they still have. So this team will be fine. I expect them to win these next two games and have themselves in position for a bye, which then allows Antonio Brown another week to recover without them playing.
All right, talking to Ryan Clark of ESPN here on The Right Time. Now, switching gears just a little bit, how about that Blake Bortles?
Hey, man, listen. I have been on record saying Blake Bortles is not very good. He's a little bit better than I thought. I'm not going to say he's great. He was playing against the Texans, but he finally threw the ball with some authority. Even in the last 2 weeks when he's actually played well, they've gotten out in front defensively. They've run the ball well. You didn't believe in the throws. Last week he was stepping into the throws, stepping up in the pocket, making smart decisions, throwing balls into tight spots and tight places. And that's what you need to see out of Blake Bortles to give you any confidence you can compete with the teams you'll play against in the playoffs. And so for them, it is definitely looking up, but I'm not ready to say that Blake Bortles is, as Leonard Fournette said, a top 5 quarterback in this league.
You sound like me talking about Kirk Cousins on this one. Like, yeah, okay, he ain't as bad as I thought he was, but y'all tripping. We're going to talk to Ryan Clark of ESPN here on The Right Time. Switching gears just a little bit, what do you think about the Thomas Davis hit getting a 2-game suspension?
I understand what the NFL is trying to do here. Here's a guy who was fined $48,000 early on in the year for a very similar hit, and now you are clearly helmet-to-helmet contacting Devontae Adams, a guy who we've seen be hit in compromising positions already, both last year and this. I don't mind the suspension in a vacuum. Okay, we're trying to legislate this play out of the game. I mind the suspension when Mike Evans got the same suspension for blindsiding Marshawn Lattimore after the play when he's fussing with Jameis Winston, when Gronkowski can do the people's elbow on Tre'Davious White and only get 1 game. I have an issue with it when Crabtree and Talib get into a fist fight in a game, pull off helmets, pull chains, and they only get 2. If all of these things that are away from football, outside of the game, are penalized in the same way or actually less than Thomas Davis, then I have an issue.
All right, talk to
because
Ryan. Okay.
I understand player safety is important, but now you're starting to say that you're going to legislate things that are just football even more than other things that aren't.
All right, last question for Ryan Clark of ESPN here on The Right Time. Did guys around the league have any whispers about the Panthers and Jerry Richardson and what the environment was around that franchise?
No, I really haven't heard anything about the environment around the franchise, but I've dealt with him. We've dealt with him as the NFL PA. We know who Jerry Richardson is. The allegations that deal with racism and racial slurs do not surprise me. I'm not saying that the allegations of the way he treated women does surprise me, but that's not necessarily something I can say I saw from his behavior or I've been told from the way that he's interacted with people. But I definitely know that him using a racial slur is neither surprising to me or far off from what I thought he would do.
All right, that is Ryan Clark. Check him out covering the NFL for us here at ESPN. Stay warm, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, now, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Ryan Clark of ESPN for joining us last segment. Spencer Hall of SB Nation will join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. For all your last-minute gift needs, visit 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen Mary Red Roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So we got reports before the game yesterday that the Bengals were playing against the Vikings, that Marvin Lewis had no desire to renegotiate his contract for 28, because his contract runs out. He don't want to do that. He just going to roll out to pursue other opportunities. That is the story. The story got out before the game. You had reporters saying that players on the Bengals didn't know anything about this until they were getting on the bus. They found out with the rest of us, and then the Bengals went out there and got beat 135-3. That's a rough estimate. I don't really have an answer for you, but they look like a team that did not feel like playing football that day for whatever reason it happens to be. Now, Marvin Lewis is asked about it on Sunday, and he said, quote, "It's nothing. There's nothing to it." I think he's done a conference call today. We'll let you know if we get any sound worth having out of that one. This is an interesting one, though, because why wait for them to fire you? Or if you're Marvin Lewis, on top of that, why wait for them to not fire you? Like, who's to say he still feel like working there? Like, it's like Marvin Lewis is so difficult to evaluate as the coach of the Bengals, I think, for a couple of reasons. One of them is that I think his tenure with the team absolutely has there are two different periods. There's the period that goes up until 2010 and then the 2011 from here. Now, the period that goes up until 2010, and I believe he got that job in 2002. But that period is the one where you remember how bad they were before he got there. Right? They were so awful before he wound up with that team. And then in 2010, I feel like they in effect fired him and decided to do a rebuild, and then they hired him to do the rebuild. They drafted A.J. Green, they drafted Andy Dalton, they made some other moves, and then they had that run of going to the playoffs. And a team that at one point many believed was the most talented team in the NFL never could get past the first round of the playoffs. Now, the problem, of course, we're talking about them and their inability to get past the first round of the playoffs is Andy Dalton was the quarterback. So I don't have a great answer for you on what magical coach it was that would be able to do that. What happened was teams went out there. We saw this repeatedly. Teams went into playoff games against the Bengals and were like, all right, well, let's make Andy Dalton beat us. And Andy Dalton's like, how come y'all don't want to let A.J. Green beat y'all? And then they would go out there and they would lose. Like, that's what it would be. So I don't know how to evaluate this. But by the way, here's Marvin Lewis today where he says that he's not leaving the Bengals.
Marvin, is the ESPN report this morning about you deciding to walk away after this year accurate?
No. It's the same report you guys have been reporting on all season. It's just nothing changed since August. So, I mean, it's just the speculation that people keep throwing out there. It makes, we're all wasting time talking about that.
Excuse me, Coach, did that catch you by surprise then to see that as you guys are getting here?
Well, I don't see it, so it doesn't, yeah.
Have you made up your mind at all on?
I have not made any decisions about anything, as I've told you how many times.
Would it be an inaccurate report at this point?
I think
say
that
you've made that decision to move on.
Yeah, I think it is. Yes.
All right. So that was him yesterday. I didn't realize ESPN had made that report. Hope I ain't getting nobody in trouble. Anyway, but yeah, that's Marvin Lewis yesterday saying that no, he has not quit his job. Shannon, I get the feeling though the Bengals might have quit theirs.
Question I have for you in regards to Lewis, if this is in fact the end of the road here with him with the Bengals, do we grade him on a curve? Just because it's the Bengals and we know what that franchise's history has been?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Because it's the Bengals, is it even grading on a curve? Like, is that fair to say? So what I do think he puts you in an interesting position is, I mean, we're not grading him in the context of being like some great coach, I don't think. I think that most of us would say at best that he was a very good coach. It's not like if we were to grade him on a curve, Shannon, that would be to me like, we grade John Chaney in college basketball on a curve. Like, John Chaney never made the Final Four with Temple, but it doesn't matter because we know what Temple was. We know what he was doing. And so we put him in the same esteem with, say, a guy like Jim Boeheim, who's made the Final Four 4 or 5 times, right? Like, I don't think anybody could sincerely say that Jim Boeheim is a better coach than John Chaney, observing what the circumstances were. With Marvin Lewis, I think we give him the credit for getting to the playoffs. Look, getting to the playoffs 5 years in a row in the NFL is not easy. And I think that anybody who manages to pull that off, with or without Andy Dalton as their quarterback, we give them a certain measure of credit. I think the issue with Marvin Lewis is we ignore the circumstances that are around him, and then very often people then wind up discussing him and being like, well, they never won a playoff game. Which, I mean, yeah, he had that job for a long time to never win a playoff game. And we assume that if you go as long as he did without winning a playoff game, that somebody's going to replace you. But who was the replacement coach that you believe was really going to be the one to get the Bengals to this place, right? And also look at what it was for the Bengals in the playoffs. So the first time they got to the playoffs, correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, wasn't that the game where Carson Palmer had his ACL torn by Kimo Van Oelhoffen? Right?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay, then after that, they went 8-8, they went 7-9, they went 4-11-1. Then they got 10-6, they got to the wild card round. They lost to a Jets team, they went to the AFC Championship. Then they had the 4-12 season. After that, they lost in the wild card round 5 straight times. So what we're talking about here when we talk about this Cincinnati Bengals run and why not go to the playoffs? Well, it's kind of hard to win in the playoffs when your Pro Bowl quarterback gets his ACL torn, right? And then, Carson Palmer was on that. Shannon, was that Carson Palmer? Yeah, well, okay, I was looking at the wrong list. I saw Ryan Fitzpatrick come up. I was like, ugh, that would have been ugly. But I can see how that team doesn't win a playoff game. I don't know how much of that you put on the head coach necessarily. I also think that a coach under those circumstances typically gets replaced. I feel like if I'm Marvin Lewis, if I don't feel like working here anymore, I'm out of there. My only thing with that report is they said that he would be interested in perhaps leaving for future opportunities. What future opportunity is somebody giving a 59-year-old dude that hadn't won a playoff game but has been a coach since 2002? Like, what future opportunity is that? Is somebody going to make him 2003 rather? But is somebody going to make him a general manager? Like, what other opportunity would they be for him? If he were to leave, I would feel like leaving would be retiring. It's not, I'm going to come out here and see what the world has to offer. I don't know what the world got to offer you. Like, it might have something to offer somebody else. I mean, not to be rude, homie, but I don't really know what the world would have to offer you. So, I mean, if you want a job, you probably should stay there. If you want to move on about your business, go do something else. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next. Hey, man, so, are the Seahawks actually terrible? Because I saw something this weekend I'd never seen. ESPN Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Blue Apron is the leading meal kit delivery service in the U.S. And while many know what they do, not many know about the types of meals you eat when you cook with Blue Apron. Now tell me how these sound. Chili butter steaks with lemon Parmesan butter and potatoes. Vegetable lo mein with bok choy and carrots. Spicy shrimp bucatini with cabbage and toasted breadcrumbs. Roasted chicken and maple butter with sweet mashed potato and collard greens. Blue Apron delivers fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes right to your door. They can be cooked in under 45 minutes. The menu changes every week based on what's in season and is designed by Blue Apron's in-house culinary team. Blue Apron offers 12 new recipes each week. Customers can pick 2, 3, 4 recipes based on what best fits their schedules. And Blue Apron sends only non-GMO ingredients and meat without added hormones. Blue Apron is treating our listeners on The Right Time to their first 3 meals free. A $30 value when you first order if you visit blueapron.com/Bomani. So check out this week's new menu and get your $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Bomani. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. All right, there's an absurd stat that had floated around. I don't have the particular. I can't remember exactly what it was. But about how many games for the Seattle Seahawks were at the worst for them losing by less than a score or a score or less. They had stayed so close in all these games. Like they were Patriots West basically since 2012 in terms of where they were and being competitive and everything else. And that stadium was supposed to be the most intimidating place to play in the NFL. And the Rams went up there and beat the brakes off them. In that stadium, beat the brakes off them. They beat them in a way that, if nothing else, I didn't think was possible. Like, I thought it was fair to think that the Rams would win that game. In fact, probably likely to say that the Rams were going to win that game. I don't think that any of us expected to watch that and it be as bloody and brutal as it was. Like, stop and think about this for a second. Jared Goff did not play especially well. Jared Goff was 14 for 21 for $120, 2 touchdowns and an interception. And they still beat them 42-7. The score was 34-0 at halftime. Halftime. There was nothing that Seattle had on that one. Nothing at all. I just you guys help me out. Let me tell me something if I'm missing it. When is the last time you could think of seeing that Seattle team getting handled like that in that building to the point where they're bringing in the backup quarterback for the Rams? It was bananas. Now, the Rams used to, figure out a way to get them a win over the Seahawks every year, right? Like, they would be able to pull that off. You give them credit on that one. They won a game 42-7 where they had 108 net passing yards. That was it. 108 net passing yards, and they won a game 42-7. And the Seattle defense, let's talk about this for a second. Since week 11, they are just pretty much bad at everything. They are in the 26th in opponents' total QBR. My man Florida James with the numbers. Yards per attempt by the opponents, they're at 20th, which honestly in some ways I think better than some people would have expected given the guys that they have lost. But when you compare all these numbers to what they were before, they were 5th in the league in opponents' total QBR, 8th in the league in opponent yards per attempt. They were 10th in the league in sacks before in the first 10 weeks of the year. Okay, they're getting a few. They're doing a little better in that regard here since then. No defensive touchdowns since week 11. They're just a team right now. That's it. This is the first time in 7 years that the Seahawks have given up 300 yards and 30 points in consecutive games. Like, they are just a team that is out here. They are a team that still has a chance, to be fair to them, to make the playoffs. I feel like, though, like they can make the playoffs if they want to. They can go to playoffs. Shannon, what's going to happen to them if they go to playoffs? Hey, anything good? I feel like that'll be obscene to put on television to watch them get beat like that.
At this point, they have a lot of injuries on defense, and then the offense, we spoke about it last week, it's essentially Russell Wilson. You go out there and do everything.
Yes. Yes, and he tried. He was the leading rusher for them again last week. They got 2 games left, and the thing is, Shannon, their games left are winnable. They go to Dallas on Christmas Eve, and then they have the Cardinals at home. Like, both of the games they have left are games they can win. The thing is, man, the Cowboys need that one. Ezekiel Elliott is going to be back. Yeah, like that one is going to be interesting. All right, they give us something. Problem with a good Christmas Eve game, man, is if you're trying to get away from your family, it get a whole lot harder. Why don't we all just watch the football game? Why we got to watch it together? I mean, I like my family, so there ain't going to be such a thing. But still, it'd be like, yo, why can't, like, mama going to be here? Damn, we can't kick it like we want to when mama here. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Now, the thing with the Seahawks is, I mean, it's bad. You know it's bad when Pete Carroll starts sounding kind of pessimistic because he's always seeing the bright side. He see a lot of bright yesterday.
Were you happy with the effort in a game like that when it's
I wasn't happy
so
with
far
anything.
behind?
There was nothing about that game. We avoided getting shut out. We scored a touchdown, and no, there's nothing to be happy about. That was a really dismal performance by us.
Don't nothing bring out the pride in football players to that prospect of getting shut out. He's like, look, we ain't get shut out. I mean, if they had lost 35-0, it would feel worse than losing 42-7, even though in both circumstances they lost the game by 35 points. You just don't want to get shut out. Now, the only other thing, too, is we've seen this team kind of come apart. We saw it come apart at the end of that game against Jacksonville. They seem to come apart a little bit in this game against the Rams. Now we got the next level of it. Here is Earl Thomas talking about the defense and Bobby Wagner playing. Bobby Wagner's had a hamstring injury. Anyway, here's Earl Thomas.
My personal opinion, I think all they should have played. The backups would have did, just as good. But the injuries, Cam, Sherm, KJ, it definitely hurt today. You normally see Wags, running from sideline to sideline, and he just couldn't do it today. But I think he just waited a little bit too long to take a step out.
Now, this is an interesting thing to discuss here because the injury culture around football, right? If you can play, you play, and it becomes on the coaches to make the decision whether or not you can go. And so if you see Bobby Wagner out there and you don't feel like Bobby Wagner is playing well enough, do you as the coach go tell what might be your best defensive player? Because Bobby Wagner and Earl Thomas are probably the best two defensive players. Do you go tell your best defensive player to come out there, or on some love of the game stuff, do you let that dude keep coming out here and running? Clearly, Earl Thomas, again, thought that Bobby Wagner should have been out of the game. Hey, Mike, you run that one more time. I want to make sure everybody hears exactly what Earl Thomas had to say about Bobby Wagner.
My personal opinion, I think all they should have played. The backups would have did, just as good. But, the injuries, Cam, Sherm, KJ, it definitely hurt today. You normally see Wags, running from sideline to sideline, and he just couldn't do it today. But I think he just waited a little bit too long to take a step out.
All right, now, Shannon, did you think that was too harsh? I thought he was saying, the dude was trying to play hurt. He normally makes plays that he couldn't make because he was hurt, and they probably should have taken him out the game.
I didn't see a problem with his comments. I think he acknowledged the fact that Wagner was going out there trying to play for the team, and he just couldn't be as successful as he would be if he was healthy. I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Well, apparently Bobby Wagner did, and Bobby Wagner said on the Twitter, and I quote, keep my name out your mouth. Stop being jealous of other people's successes. I still hope you keep balling, bro. Yo, like all of a sudden the wheels came off of this thing right then. At that moment, the wheels came off of this thing. Like, oh, hold on now. Hold on now. Do you think Earl Thomas knew that Bobby Wagner thought he was a hater? Do the rest of the cats think that Earl Thomas is a hater? Because it seems like Bobby Wagner just called Earl Thomas a hater.
To keep my name out your mouth, that's not something that you would say to a teammate or somebody that you cool with.
Well, keep my name out your mouth is a precursor to fighting. Like there's like, you shouldn't say that or whatever, but keep my name out your mouth. That there means that if you don't keep my name out your mouth, I'm going to replace it with this knuckle sandwich. Like the knuckle sandwich is typically going to be around the corner there. Yeah. How they going to hold that thing together, man? They still got 2 games and everything else. Like their whole thing, like Pete Carroll just has this set up there over there. Like, look, as long as you ball, I'm not tripping on anything else. Well, they're not balling right now. And so with them not balling, what are we getting? Everything else.
I have 2 questions in regards to the Seahawks. First being, one, how long can they keep this together? And my follow-up would be, if they can't keep this together, how long until Pete Carroll bails like he did USC?
Oh, bail and go where, though? Right? Like, I think he's in this now. What would it take for them to fire Pete Carroll? Like, what would it take for him to actually, find another place to go to? I wasn't even mad at him for bailing on USC. That wasn't going to get, that was as good as it was going to get. He made that move. Totally understandable. Everything else, y'all deal with this probation. Y'all said y'all wanted to win. We won. Y'all ain't even mad at it. So I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, I don't so much have the problem with him on that one. But this one, he's going to have to fix it. Remember, this team was put together largely with a bunch of guys the same age. So when one of them falls off, they're basically all going to fall off. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Let's hit the phone. Talk to Elgin in St. Louis. Elgin, thanks for calling the right time.
What up, Bo?
Doing all right, man?
All right, check it out. It was about 2 years ago. I was living in Phoenix. And my partner, his job used to get season tickets to the Suns. So we were sitting 10 rows from the floor and on the same side where the Suns come in and out. Well, they were playing the Sixers, and this one the Sixers was extra bad. And they were losing at halftime. And my partner decided to start yelling at the Suns when they walk into the locker room. So he like, yo, y'all playing like trash. Y'all need to get it together. And I guess P.J. Tucker wasn't having it because he stopped and he looked. He was looking in our direction. So I immediately picked up my phone, put it to my head, turned to the right, and was like, he tapped me on my shoulder. I'm like, I don't know you. And he stood there. I'm talking about, it seemed like it was about 5 minutes. He just sat there and looked at him. It wasn't that long, but it seemed like it. And then when he walked off, he was like, dog, what would you have done if he would have came up here? Look, I made the business decision not to get in y'all business. This is gonna be this is gonna be a beat down at Talking Stick Arena, and it wasn't gonna involve me. This ain't I'm not as brave as them cats in the Malice in the Palace.
Hey, man, I think you made the right call, Elgin. I appreciate it. Yeah, man, your partner. Yeah, one thing your partner can't do is talk us into we got to fight. We ain't got to do nothing. Nothing at all. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Give us a call. Coming up next, the Lakers will not just retire Kobe's number 8. They'll retire Kobe's number 24. Let's see how hard Shannon gonna hate on Kobe. Coming up next on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Spencer Hall of SB Nation will join us next segment. Spencer Hall will join us at 6:30 Eastern. Go ahead and turn that up a little bit. Also, song of the day, Trim Your Tree by Jimmy Butler. You hatchet. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, just so you know as you hear this, Christmas songs, they're by and large, if they're not religious, about drinking and being home for the holidays, shall we say. Hey, 30 for 30 podcast have returned. These are stories you just have to hear to believe. Subscribe right now in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or Apple Podcast. Brought to you by the Citi Double Cash Card. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Today is the day that my good buddy Shannon Penn has been looking forward to for a very long time. I feel like he's been really looking forward to this his whole life. Even if he didn't realize he's been looking forward to this his whole life. This is the day that Kobe Bryant is honored by the Lakers by having his jersey retired, not once, but twice, because he has 2 numbers, and so they are going to retire number 8 and number 24. Keep it in mind, Shannon, Willis Reed and Dick Barnett have to share number 15 for the Knicks, right? Earl Monroe, rather. Earl Monroe and Dick Barnett. They have to share number 15 for the Knicks. Kobe gets 2 numbers for himself. How you feel about that?
I tried my best just now. I really did. I tried my best not to roll my eyes when you said he was having two numbers retired. I really did. But I guess it makes sense, though, right? To have both jersey numbers retired.
Go ahead, Shannon.
That's all I have. I'm trying to find something nice to say about Kobe. Maybe I'll find it by the end of the segment.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about you, like being a cat from Virginia. I just know that you have to have all kinds of respect for the way that in the 2001 NBA Finals, Kobe put them clamps on Allen Iverson, shut that situation down to help the Lakers get to a 5-game win. I'm sure that all you boys in Virginia were very happy about that, right, Kobe?
Yeah.
Shannon?
Yeah, no one remembers the 2001 Finals games 2 through 5. The only thing we remember from 2001 is that one victorious game that the Sixers and Allen Iverson had with Iverson stepping over Toronto. That's all we remember. That's the most memorable moment of the 2001 Finals.
Yeah, but you remember the rest of it, Shannon. Being a big Kobe fan like you were, that's when you came to respect him as a top-notch defender.
Wait, who? Who?
You're not a Kobe fan?
What? No, me? Oh, no. That's not going to happen. I'm trying, but I really did. I knew we were going to talk about Kobe today because they're retiring his jersey numbers, not 1 but 2. And I'm trying my best to find something positive. I am on the mission right now, and I will find something positive to talk about Kobe.
Well, go ahead and tell the people about the Twitter poll that you put up about Kobe.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you asked. We actually have 2 Twitter polls right now on the ESPN Radio Twitter account. The first being in the Kobe System commercial with Kanye West. Who was in on the joke? Kobe, Kanye, both, or neither. If you remember, that was the more when Kanye kept saying, but I'm the best, and Kobe was like, more. Are you the same beast and a different animal, whatever?
Yes.
Kobe System thing he said. And then the other poll that we have on the ESPN Radio Twitter account, with the Lakers retiring the Black Mambas numbers 8 and 24 jerseys, who was the best snake of all time? What? He gave himself the nickname, right? The Black Mamba.
Snake Shannon.
So, yeah, the snake gave himself his own nickname. So, the options were Kobe Bryant, Jake the Snake Roberts, Ken Stabler, or Cobra Commander. So, feel free to go on the ESPN Radio Twitter account and vote on who was the best snake ever.
Best what?
Right now, Kobe is leading the ESPN Radio Twitter poll at 33% when we asked who was the best snake of all time.
The best what, Shannon?
The best snake of all time.
Why snake?
Because he gave himself his own nickname. Can't do that in these streets. Sorry.
There's something so funny about when someone decides to call somebody else a snake. I don't know what it is about calling somebody a snake. That's so funny. You ever hear Poppy who calls LeBron and Wade the Snake Brothers? Well, the Snake Brothers.
This is a first for me, no.
Yeah, he says that Wade was a snake for the way he left Miami, and that LeBron was a snake for the way he left Miami. So they are the snake. He said the Warriors are the Splash Brothers. They are the Snake Brothers. Oh, man. So, Kobe, we got the things here. Everybody's doing that. What Kobe was better, the number 8 Kobe, or the number 24 Kobe. And see, the tricky thing about the number 24 Kobe is the number 24 Kobe has that back end, like the bad Kobe years. And I feel like that kind of stunts what we're really talking about with this. I will tell you this, though, from looking at the differences between the number 8 Kobe and number 24 Kobe. So shooting efficiency, right? Number 8 Kobe, 45% from the field. Number 24 Kobe, 44% from the field. Number 8 Kobe, 33.6% from three. Number 24 Kobe, 32.5% from three. Shannon, I see that and I'm like, wow, I thought Kobe was a better shooter than that.
Kobe put up a lot of shots.
yeah, but I'm feeling like the combination of these two, I would have expected better than like low 30s from 3-point range. I would have thought that was what we have. Like I'm going to be honest that I keep seeing all these numbers for Kobe with 8 and 24, and all it leads me to think is, wow, he's no LeBron James. That's right, I said it.
But, Bo, he's just ask a Kobe stan. He was the best player of his generation, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, there's no number that supports that fact, right? Like, if you like Kobe like that, it's cool, but there really is no statistical case to support that fact. You have the ring count. I guess you could call that a stat, but there's nothing else there. But see, the thing about Kobe is I feel like we lose the point when we kind of start talking about Kobe in comparison to LeBron or everybody else. I feel like you have to view Kobe in the context of the Lakers, and he is theirs, and they love him, and they have the right to absolutely love him, but they need to love him in a local sort of way, right? Like, he is the bridge between it's the Shaq Kobe era, but he's the bridge of that time. That low point they had in the middle, he got them back to a championship level of contention there. He has been the center of this for who knows how long, and in LA, they absolutely 100% love him to death. They love his dirty draws, and they are allowed to love Kobe's dirty draws, but just say that you love him. Don't try to force the rest of us into believing that he was a little better at this than he actually was. He is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He is, no question, absolutely 100% a Hall of Famer, and he is a Lakers legend. And I think all of those things are very good and very nice to say. And as I've said many times about Kobe, I respect Kobe. I respect the way that he has no fear of failure. I totally respect the fact that he is willing to deal with the consequences of whatever goes wrong because he's not afraid. And very few of us are like that. Shannon, you gonna say something nice about Kobe?
All right, I just thought about it. What nice thing I'm gonna say about Kobe Bryant is this is genuine, coming from the heart. Seriously, Bo, no, stop laughing. This is serious. I'm being real right now. The thing I admire most about Kobe Bryant is that I wish I worked at something as hard and as much as Kobe did with basketball. See?
There you go, Shannon.
That was nice, wasn't it? Like, work this hard is putting up all them shots in the last game so you can put up, what did he score, 50 points or whatever it was? So
I think it was 60.
So he scored 60, really?
I think it was 60.
Oh, my gosh.
Never
mind.
I also think he took 60 shots. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next. So you telling me the airport in Atlanta got shut down yesterday? Spencer Hall might have been on one of those flights. Find out on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Wow, that went down fast. All guests join us on the show, Pizzo Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out at SBNation.com, EDSBS.com, the best college football writer in America. His name is Spencer Hall. Spencer, did you get caught in the Atlanta airport power shutdown?
I missed it by a day, which is good because I can't really emphasize enough the desperation of the situation. When I tell you this, it happened on a Sunday, and Chick-fil-A sprung into action. Let me remind you of the previous time when Chick-fil-A has sprung into action on a Sunday in the name of a community event. Never. Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. If you want to eat one, you got to buy it late, put it in your pocket, keep it warm there, and pull it out at 12:01 a.m. That's how bad it got.
I've been very curious about the discussions at Chick-fil-A behind this one. Like, did they have to call in an apology first?
They had to. They had to do this. They probably did this. They probably said, listen, we'll use the international date line to justify this. This is coming from the Hawaii office or from our Tokyo location. However, they had to do it in order to justify it because It was bad. There's people on planes for 8 hours. 8 hours from one fire that took out an entire airport. The Walking Dead really isn't so much about Atlanta after a zombie attack. It's about Atlanta after pretty much anything, like a simple event.
Well, let me tell you this, too. The thought of being on a plane for 8 hours almost guarantees I never fly coach again, because I can't imagine how much I'd hate everyone around me after 8 hours on a plane and coach.
After 8 hours, your phone runs out of juice, right? Like that's how bad it gets. The drink cart is empty after 8 hours. After 8 hours, you already know everyone's stories, and you're tired of them. Unless someone's got cards and money to put on the table, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of amusement there. It was not a good situation, and if it happened before the college football title game, it would be a very bad situation.
Also, is anybody crankier in that circumstance than the flight attendants?
Maybe the pilots, because I can't imagine the pilots enjoy that too much, because everyone else, they're used to going about 70 miles an hour on the road. Pilots, they're used to going about 500. So sitting still, I don't think they enjoyed it either.
We're talking to Spencer Hall, EDSBS.com, here on The Right Time. All right, are you ready, by the way, for the site that will be Georgia-Oklahoma at the Georgia – well, not the Georgia Dome. We don't do that anymore. Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, at the Benz. Yeah, that'd be Georgia and Oklahoma. And my favorite thing is this, that Oklahoma fans, they travel real well, right? They do. Oklahoma fans, too. There's a little bit of country mouse to them, so they have some really interesting places in Atlanta, right? Like, should I go there? You know what that Uber driver's going to say? Do you want me to take you there? I don't know. You can go there if you want, and that's when you see Oklahoma hats in the weirdest places.
I'm thinking of all the places I want to see them in, and not sure how many of them I can say by name on the radio.
We're delving into like FCC territory. I will say this: if Georgia wins, then again for the second time this year, the most common name going into the Fulton County Jail's record, that guy's name Thad, right? A lot of ads, a lot of Brads, a lot of Chads, right? A lot of Thompsons, a lot of guys with last names for first names, right? And really nice button downs, just going in there because too full of that dog spirit, right? A little too rowdy.
We're talking to Spencer Hall of EDSBS.com here on The Right Time. Now the game itself. Can Georgia slow down Oklahoma's offense?
I don't think so. And that's fine, because I really doubt that Oklahoma's going to be able to put up much in the way of resistance to Georgia's rushing attack, right? And that to me says that when you look at, one defense isn't going to really put up much resistance against another, and the other one's just going to get run over. Okay, so what's our sort of linchpin here, right? What does this whole thing hinge on? And I think that's going to have to come down to Georgia's quarterback situation, right? At one point, they can't hide that. They have to rely on Jake Fromm, and they have to let him do some stuff, right? And that was, by the way, one thing that they did, pretty well in both Auburn games. I know, he got beat up in that first Auburn game. Jake Fromm played pretty well. He's going to have to play even better, and I think he'll have the chance to, because once they get that play-action game going down, I think anyone has seen Oklahoma secondary, there's some holes back there. They're going to be able to take some shots and do some big things. I think it's going to be a blowout. I really hope so, because I really don't want to watch another, 17-10 game in one of these. Nope, I want it 42-38 running up and down the field, and whoever gets the ball last wins. If that's Baker Mayfield, by the way, game over, because I just trust Baker Mayfield to either do what he's supposed to do, i.e. get them in the end zone, or do something spectacularly bad. Either way, that's entertainment.
Well, how did Georgia go from having Jacob Eason last year and thinking a quarterback of the future to now where they have a quarterback that needs to be hidden, but it's not Jacob Eason?
Well, yeah, and by the way, I don't think he needs to be hidden, right? They've been pretty conservative with him, and I think that's a smart thing to do. He's really good, man. He's phenomenal. He's good enough to have unseated Eason, right, after Eason's injury earlier this year, and Eason never saw the starting gig again. That's how good Fromm was, right? And the most impressive thing when you watch Fromm, by the way, the little things like checks and checking the runs and getting his protections right and not being stupid, right? You don't be careless. When you're a quarterback, and you're a first-year starter, the most important thing you can do is not mess up. And Fromm was really good at not messing up, but he's much better than that. I don't want to poor-mouth him. I think he's exceptional. The guy who's really going to make your eyes boggle, though, he's wearing crimson and cream on the other side. It's Baker Mayfield.
Also, by the way, Kirby Smart has become the new Kevin Sumlin. Quarterbacks, I'll take them all. They got another one coming next year.
Oh, sure. Listen, man, the transfer quarterback, everyone's friend in college football now. If we really loosened up those transfer rules, we could have some proper charming vagabonds, right? Starting 1 year here, starting 1 year in another, just taking a tour, like a little sort of study abroad thing.
We're talking to Spencer Hall, EDSBS.com here on The Right Time. All right, Clemson, Alabama. Is it weird feeling like, I don't think Alabama can pull this one off?
It's a little weird feeling that way. I think it also feels weird to me because, I don't feel like Clemson's there yet. I think defensively they're there, right? But the ceiling for Kelly Bryant at quarterback is much higher than what he's played at this year, right? Like, he's just getting started, and they're already pretty good. It's weird seeing two teams where you go, I already want to see next year, right? I feel like both of these teams are here a year early because of the massive amount of talent that they have on the roster, right? So I feel like that'll be the less satisfying game because I don't think either of these teams are sort of in peak condition. I don't think that they're necessarily ready or the best versions of those teams. And it is very weird to say that about Alabama, right? And I know Alabama fans put this on the offensive coordinator, Brian Double, first. Who really knows who the offensive coordinator is at Alabama, right? Like, they have a firm. That's a firm. That's like blaming Warren Buffett for something. You're like, okay, listen, Warren Buffett's head of a corporation. Nick Saban is head of a corporation, and that is a division in that corporation. So who knows, really, who's responsible for some of the offensive foibles? Two, I know a lot of people in Alabama want to put it on Jalen Hurts, and they want to say, oh, listen, man, that guy's just not getting it done at quarterback. It's really not fair to take a quarterback who you let throw 15 times max, get behind in a game and say, well, go out there and throw it 40 times. Get us back in the game, Jalen. Come on. That's not what you've done as a mode, as a team. That's not what you've done all year. It's really unfair to get in that situation and immediately look at that guy and go, well, I don't know, make something happen, right? He's not Baker Mayfield, and he hasn't been coached to be Baker Mayfield, right? Not yet, at least.
Well, the one good thing for Alabama is I don't think anybody's going to benefit more from rest, right? From having guys get healed up.
Oh, no. And that's another thing. The linebacking court, took a shellacking with injury. And if you look at the games that they struggled in, right, if you look at them losing to Auburn, a lot of those plays happened because of falling for shifts, motions, various kind of fakes that really got linebackers moving one way and then they ran through that hole on the other side. That doesn't happen when you have experience. That doesn't happen when you have a healthy Alabama linebacking court. So they'll benefit from that, right? If this ends up being a low-scoring game, Alabama will be totally happy with that all day long. If it starts getting up into the 20s and 30s, that's when they start getting nervous.
All right, that is Spencer Hall. Check him out, SBNation.com, EDSBS.com. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Spencer Hall of SBNation.com for joining us in the last segment. Thanks to Ryan Clark of ESPN for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern Hour. Thanks to Darren Gann of Pro Football Talk for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern Hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. All right, Shannon, what we miss out on today?
All right, Carolina Panthers owner Jerry Richardson, amid allegations of workplace misconduct, announced yesterday in a letter that he was putting the Carolina Panthers up for sale. And if you haven't heard, here's Bomani Jones earlier today on The Right Time discussing the Richardson situation and what it means for the other owners in the NFL.
So if you have someone who feels they have been treated improperly at the workplace on the basis of race, then this is going to become the template for how that gets dealt with. If you have these issues of sexual harassment, then this becomes the template of how to be dealt with. And who are the people who are going to ultimately be behind determining what the course of action is on this? The other owners. Now, to a degree, we are asking those other owners, at least some of them, one might presume, to pick their own switch, right? Because whatever happens to the Panthers, if you are in a similar situation, then that's going to come down on you, wherever it is. You remember when, with Donald Sterling, when the NBA ran Donald Sterling out of there. And remember, they ran Donald Sterling out of there for something very, very particular, right? What those statements were that he got caught saying to the woman that then got broadcast. They didn't get him for the overall culture. Keeping in mind, there have been allegations that Donald Sterling was bringing people to watch the dude shower and all the things that Sterling had been alleged to have said at all these different points. They didn't get him for that. They got him for that one particular thing. And getting him for that one particular thing kind of made it easy for him to a degree because you couldn't go and look at every other team and see how they get down and then say, okay, this is what we're going to do. They were like, no, we're getting you for this one thing. If they're going to get the Panthers or Richardson, whoever it is, for the larger culture that's there, then all these teams understand that their cultures are open doors for the league if they want to give some level of punishment. So then if you are the owners, how do you decide what this punishment is? They get to pick their own switch. How are they going to do it? But is it Mark Cuban? You remember when Mark Cuban did that interview? He said, if I see a white dude with a face full of tattoos or a black kid with a hoodie, I'm going to be scared either way. And we need to understand and have a dialogue and a conversation or anything. That was one of those, because he was like, no, we shouldn't take Donald Sterling's team. Because he's like, hey, man, you never know when that mirror, at least it felt like, you never know when that's going to spin back around, and you never know when it's going to hit you. So what's the NFL going to do? In the end with this, what are they going to do?
All right, tonight in Los Angeles, the Lakers will officially retire Kobe Bryant's numbers 8 and 24. So we had a couple of ESPN Radio Twitter polls today. The first being, in the Kobe System commercial featuring Kanye West, who do you think was in on the joke? That's the one, the Kobe System, more, things like that. Kobe Bryant, Kanye West, both, or neither. And 46% of the folks who voted said neither.
I would like to point out, by the way, that that's the poll question that I wrote. Shannon, would you like to share with the people the poll question you wrote?
Absolutely, and it was divisive, too, because it was a close one. All right, with the Lakers retiring the Black Mambas number 8 and 24 jerseys, who was the best snake? And your options are, of course, Kobe Bryant is top snake, Jake the Snake Roberts, Ken the Snake Stabler, and Cobra Commander. Put a little G.I. Joe in there. 33% of the folks who voted said Kobe Bryant, top snake. See? Not just me.
But they're not. I think they're saying that he was better than them, Shannon.
No. They were clearly saying that he was the best snake. He was the top snake. Like, if there's a guy and you think he's a snake, right there, the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant, right there, top of the list, the snake.
Are you taking joy in that poll result?
Not the Black Mamba, the snake, Kobe, the snake. Bryant, right there, number one.
You would think he did something to you.
Right, sure. The
you
snake,
don't even love
Kobe
Iverson
Bryant.
that much.
Not at all. That doesn't matter. All right, moving on. Once again, the snake, 33%. Jake the Snake Roberts, 31%, by the way. All right, moving on.
Is he still in the league?
Yes, he's still with us.
Oh, okay.
Yes. All right, moving on, because we're running out of time here. But speaking of the Lakers, former Laker Carlos Boozer, friend of the program because we had him on once, officially announced his retirement. What's your most Carlos Boozer NBA moment?
Okay, so is it the time that he accidentally punched their referee in the gonads while he was celebrating a made basket? Or is it, I mean, come on now, the most memorable thing, I know he's going to hate it, but he knows it's just what it is. When he went out there with that Beijing that time, thought he was going to dye his hair, except he didn't have any hair, so he just looked like somebody with a Halloween costume trying to be a vampire. He get that peak down there, and he said he knew he was going to get the blues for it too.
Yeah, all right. Last and certainly not least, a little positivity here. A former Major League pitcher, Cole Hamels, is donating his 32,000 square foot home and 100 acres of land to a camp for kids with special needs and chronic illnesses. So kudos to you, Mr. Cole Hamels.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. I was trying to come up with some sort of snide joke to tell, but there's none there. That's just all-around good-natured dopeness. Way to go, Cole Hamels. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this every weekday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Shannon, Nuno, Mike, thanks so much. Brian Cusser and Phil Yates coming up next. Talk to you guys tomorrow. The last Right Time tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to The Right Time podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.